Hello Stats fans and welcome to the latest issue of Go Figure. Stats on the silver screen. It's like the Hollywood stroke 1980s BBC Sport co-production featuring Cary Grant and Wendy Wimbush that the film and cricket worlds always dreamed of seeing. Only with me as Wendy Wimbush. For those who don't remember her, she used to be the BBC scorer on their test match coverage and won 12 BAFTAs in the Best Name on Television category. And in Bangalore, very much the Cary Grant of calculation, the Stephen Seagal of stats, the Nick Nolte of numbers, it's Crickinfo's S. Rajesh.
Hi Andy, that's a heavy duty introduction.
A lot to live up to, Rajesh, a lot to live up to.
Completely. So how are you doing?
Very, very well, thanks. Still basking in the glory of England, as they tend to do, winning a test match in May. In fact, as I wrote in my blog last week, they haven't lost a test match that's ended in May since 1921. So clever scheduling by the ECB. And that match produced this week's number. So 68, New Zealand score in the second innings. Tell us all about that number.
There was also another 68 just a few hours after that on Sunday actually. That was Rafa Nadal thrashing Federer in the finals of the Rome Masters, which also took 68 minutes. But Rafa took a minute to come to the net to shake hands, so officially it goes in at 69.
Really?
But we know what the truth is. That took 68 minutes as well.
And that's quite a lot of time picking his underpants out of his backside as well. So I mean, that's a lot of that 68 minutes. So 68 all out, that has to be disappointing after being 1-0. And it's only the second time in tests a team has been bowled out for 68. And all England fans, I'm sure, will fondly remember the previous occasion. It was an Ashes test at the Oval in 1886. Great days, when Australia were applying to England's 434, with W.G. Gray scoring his highest test score of 170, was 68 all out in 60.2 overs, although they were only 4-ball overs. Great days. And that England team featured George Elliott, who, of course, you don't need me to tell you, had scored 68 in the Adelaide Test 18 months previously.
And if you look at that scorecard, in that innings there were again two bowlers who did all the bowling and took all the wickets. George Lohman did a Broad, or rather Broad did a George Lohman. He took 7 for 36, and Johnny Briggs, a left-arm spinner, took 3 for 28. And each of them bowled 30 overs on the trot. Of course, like you said, they were 4-ball overs, so it translates to 120 balls. But that's still quite a bit of bowling to do on the trot. Much more than 11 overs that the bowlers bowled in this innings here.
Absolutely. Well, in fact, Broad's 7 wickets in 66 balls, the joint 6th shortest innings analysis in which 7 or more wickets have been taken. Just ahead of Hadley, who did it in 11.1 overs, 67 balls, and Hugh Tayfield, the parsimonious post-war probing Proteas tweakmeister, who in 68 balls in Durban in January 1950 took 7 Australian wickets for 23. So an auspicious number, 68.
Absolutely. It's been scored 198 times in tests, that's 68 by a batsman. The quickest of them came off 48 balls. And do you know who has that record?
I don't offhand, no.
It was at the number 10 position. So let me give you a big hint. And by an Australian who's in the current Ashes squad.
Oh, was it Mitchell Starc?
Absolutely.
Right.
Mitchell Starc against South Africa in that Perth test that Australia lost by 309 runs. He scored 68 of 43 balls. So I think he's one batsman that England will have to be wary of come the Ashes, not in May.
Not in May. That could be the crucial fact. I think we should play all our test matches in May. In fact, I'm thinking about 1930-31. England were playing 2 test matches simultaneously in West Indies and New Zealand. Maybe they could be doing the same in May in England. Just have 3 test matches with 3 different England teams going on at the same team. We're unbeatable in this month.
Or you could just rechristen July, August and September as May.
that might be a simple solution.
That might work too. That may work too.
One of the slowest 68 in history, famous innings, Trevor Bailey, the Barnacle himself at Brisbane in December 1958. 427 balls to score 68, 7 hours and 38 minutes of heroic refusal to hit the ball very hard. He did hit 4 fours, which is one fewer than the number of 6s Freddie Flintoff hit when he scored 68 in the immortal Edgbaston Test of 2005, a game which was Jason Gillespie's 68th Test, and also the number of nervous visits to the toilet I had in the approximately 90 minutes that final morning took, and the number of times that Steve Harmison has since woken from a dream in which Brett Lee smacks that wide full toss to the cover boundary to win the game instead of straight at cover point. Sorry, not Steve Harmison, I meant me. And 68 also the most Test wickets Freddie Flintoff took in a calendar year, 2005, his greatest year. Also, Morley took it in 1998, when he famously took 16 wickets at the Oval against England. Although I prefer to remember that game, Rajesh, for the historic moments when Kumar Dharmasena hit his 68th four in Test cricket.
That's absolutely outstanding.
I think there's a special plaque up there where it hit the boundary fence.
You should have written Kumar Dharmasena on that board as well. He misses out. In fact, in ODIs, it's been scored 145 times, 68. And in terms of strike rates, we have Dhoni, Jayasuriya, Watson and Botham in positions 2 to 5. But do you know who scored the fastest 68 in ODIs? It's none other than Mr. Elton Chigumbura of Zimbabwe. Yep, quick scoring. Against Kenya, he scored 68 of 29 balls. The strike rate of 234. And the slowest 68 has been scored by Ajay Jadeja, now commentator in the studios. He scored his of 132 balls against New Zealand in Christchurch in 1994. And that was a series when Sachin Tendulkar started opening the batting in ODIs for the first time. And in that very innings, he scored a 40 of 26 balls. So Jadeja thought he would rather sit back and relax and watch the action and enjoy his 68.
Another England bowler who bowled through the innings to skittle the opposition like Broad at Lords, Wilfred Rhodes, who in the MCG in January 1904 took 8 for 68 in 15 overs. In fact, bowled unchanged in both innings, taking 7 for 56 in the first innings. And the Australia lasted 360 balls in both innings combined in that text, the second quickest they've been dismissed twice in a test. England's captain, Plum Warner, in that game in 1904, stalwart of the MCC and Middlesex, author of A History of Lord's Cricket Ground, scored 68 in the first innings of that game in 1904, and 68 is also the revolutions per second at which he was spinning in his grave when Alan Stanford landed his pretend helicopter with his pretend money and his pretend smile on the nursery ground at his beloved Lords.
68 is also the number of balls taken by Mark Boucher to score an unbeaten 147 against Zimbabwe in Potchefstroom in 2006, which is the most runs scored of a 68 ball innings in ODIs. South Africa scored 418 and won the game easily, the fourth highest ODI score ever. Also, the number of balls taken by Matthew Hayden to score 101 against South Africa in that World Cup game in 2007, the group game in which they scored 377. And South Africa were going actually pretty well till Callis decided to come in and score at about 75 strike rate in a match where they needed about 7.5 and over. And
can't argue with the stats.
In fact, Hayden's century in that game came off 66 balls, which was the fastest World Cup 100 till a certain Kevin O'Brien, who has incidentally also played 68 ODIs, decided to show how good he was against England. He scored one of 50 balls. You might remember that, Andy.
No, I don't remember that game at all, even though technically I was there watching it with my own eyes.
You're in denial mode.
I can tell you, after that game, and Gokul, our producer, was there at the same time, we bumped into Geoffrey Boycott in the lift on the way down from the Bangalore press box. And I said, I'd never met Geoffrey before, and to break the ice, I said, "So, Geoffrey, did you ever score 100 off 50 balls?" And he replied in quite fruity language, "I did not have to. Could any of these young lads score 100 off Garner, Marshall, Holding and Croft? Of course they couldn't." And then he walked off into the Bangalore night. It was a glorious moment.
They did not have to either, Andy.
Now, here's an Indian with a great personal link to the number 68, Nayan Mongia. Arguably the greatest Indian cricketer of all time, although, I mean, that's an argument you will lose. Batted 68 times in tests, played in 68 ODI victories, and had an ODI strike rate of 68, and a one-day international highest score of 69. There's probably a mistake in the scoreboard. Here's another record. 68 extras conceded by West Indies in Pakistan's second innings in Bridgetown Test of 1977. That was then a record. It's since been surpassed 3 times. But those 68 extras were out of a total of 291 all out. 23% of the team's total. That remains a record proportion of extras in a team score of over 170. And there were 173 extras in the match, which is also a record, and a century of no balls. That's the only game in which no balls have got on the honours board.
Generous West Indies.
And also 68 balls faced by Ravi Shastri in the second innings of the Port Elizabeth Test in 1992-93, in which he hammered 5 runs to add to the 10 runs that he'd clobbered off 76 balls in the first innings. His match total of 15 off 144, the slowest recorded by an Indian batsman who's faced more than 100 balls in a test, and the slowest match by an opener who's faced over 120 balls in a test. Next in line, Alistair Cook in Nagpur, 14 off 121. Cook has played 68 limited over matches for England, 64 ODIs and 4 T20s, and Rahul Dravid, 21 off 180 when he opened at MCG in 2007. Happy Christmas, Melbourne. Love Rahul. He batted 68 times with Ganguly in tests and averaged 68 per partnership. On the 48 occasions he batted with Navjot Sidhu, who has invented an average of 68 completely incomprehensible phrases per day in his commentary career. Dravid also has the most scores of 68 in international cricket, 7, a record 5 times in tests. Kumar Sangakkara, the only man to score 68 in all 3 formats of the international game. So this is a number that attracts cricketing greatness.
It completely does. And talking of cricketing greatness and 68, it's exactly the number of ODIs that Hashim Amla has played. Incidentally, he's played 70 tests and only 68 ODIs, which is quite a discrepancy in today's age. 3,433 runs at 57 and strike rate of 91. In fact, he's the only batsman to score more than 3,000 runs at a 55 plus average and a 90 plus strike rate. One of only 2 to score at a 50 plus average and 90 plus strike rate, the other being AB de Villiers. 68 is also Ishant Sharma's strike rate in Test cricket. He's the bowler that India love. Yeah, all of India love him. 51 matches, 144 wickets. His average though is touching 40. It's 38 at the moment. But if you look at his first 2/3 of his Test career, 34 tests, he had taken 112 wickets at an average of 32 and a strike rate of 57. By Indian standards, by Indian pace bowling standards, that's not a bad stat at all. But in his last 17 tests, it's his average that's been drifting towards 68. His bowling average has become 58 and he's taken only 32 wickets in his last 17 tests. So that's a bit of a worry for India at the moment.
68 also, this might surprise some viewers, the highest partnership that Philip Tufnell was ever involved in a test match. Philip Tufnell put on 68 with Graham Hick in Mumbai in 1992-93 for the 10th wicket. Admittedly, Tufnell only scored 2, but he was still involved in a partnership of 68 in a test match. And also, it was the 9th wicket stand by McCallum and Vettori against Australia at the Oval in 2004 in the Champions Trophy. They batted long in that game, New Zealand. Unfortunately, it was 124 for 8 when their star 9th wicket pair came in. Now, I was at that game. 2 days later, I got married. Australia's regulation 7-wicket win was just so romantic, I couldn't stop myself.
Congratulations belatedly, Andy.
And that, at the time, that was the record 9th wicket stand in the Champions Trophy match. But it was beaten in the final 9 days later by Brown and Bradshaw as they hit 71 for the 9th wicket, unbeaten, to steal the trophy from under England's noses. Way to ruin a honeymoon, West Indies!
I was there at that match and I didn't get married 2 days after that.
And that partnership took, how many minutes, Stats fans? An hour and 8 minutes! 68 minutes! Oh, Mama, take me home. I think we better wrap this one. Oh, another quick one. Another link to Lords. Broad and Anderson bowled throughout New Zealand's second innings. Australia's Palmer and Evans did the same in the first ever test at the SCG in 1881-82. Palmer took 7 for 68. Between them, they bowled 68 maidens. There were only 4 ball overs, but still, any bowler getting through a 58 over opening spell would be calling for human rights lawyers these days. So times have changed.
Moving to 1968, that was also the first time India scored an overseas test victory in New Zealand. In Dunedin, they actually won the series 3-1. And 1968 was the first time after 43 overseas tests in which they had lost 29 that India finally scored their first test win. And 1968 was also the year of the De Oliveira affair, of the England team not being allowed to go to South Africa because of a coloured cricketer.
Yep. Historic stuff. What a number. Mind you, with any number you can probably find stuff like this. But anyway, I think we'd better leave the number 68 there to mull over itself and hopefully, from New Zealand's point of view, not occur with the words all out next to it, unless it's got, I guess, the word England before it, in the Leeds Test match. Rajesh, once again, thank you for your numerical expertise, and it's goodbye from me in London.
Bye.